Hello, everyone, and this is your lecture for Chapter 2 on the primary elements. What are the primary elements? Basically, these are the elements from which art is made. You have things like space, line, shape, light, texture, and of course, color. So we'll go through in each of the mini lectures and talk about these various elements. So starting with space. We can think of space really in two different ways, either two-dimensional space or three-dimensional space. The image at the top is Hokusai's print of the Great Wave off of Kanagawa with the Mount Fuji in the background. This is from his series of views of Mount Fuji. This is a traditional Japanese woodcut print, and one of the things that Japanese woodcut prints are known for are their two-dimensionality, basically a sense of flatness, right, in the picture plane. Then you go down to the bottom and you have the Laocoon statue, which is a Greek Hellenistic statue, which is your typical sculpture in the round, three-dimensional sculpture. So you're seeing this from three dimensions. You can walk around the piece. It has, of course, a distinct lack, right, of flatness. I also brought in these examples from Botticelli. You have this first example, Botticelli's Birth of Venus, and the second example, Botticelli's Adoration of the Magi. Not going to tell you the stories behind these, but just going to use them as a visual, right, representation. So with this first Botticelli, the famous Birth of Venus, which I'm sure you've seen, you'll notice there's a very distinct use of 2D space or two-dimensional space. The flatness is very inherent here, where you have basically the way I kind of try to describe 2D with this picture is that Venus, for instance, you just take her, she looks like a sticker that you'd place right on something. Or you can think of her like a magnet placed on a refrigerator. Funny enough, an aside about that, a famous magnet set is sold at a lot of museum gift shops around the world, and it's the magnet set of Botticelli's Birth of Venus. And basically, in that magnet set, she's a magnet. You can put her on your fridge, but you can also dress her up with different clothes, like a bikini or a prom dress. If you think of how this works using the magnet, right, example, you can understand this idea of a sticker, right? The idea of flatness and peeling something on and off a surface. You'll notice there's no depth here, right? So there's a lack of depth. Everything across the picture plane is flat. It is distinctly 2D. Now, you go a little later on into Botticelli's career. Botticelli was a Renaissance artist. When we get to the Renaissance, I'll speak heavily about the type of innovations that happen in Renaissance art. It was a time of great progression, right, as far as innovation was concerned. So you'll notice that in the beginning of his career, he's still doing things rather flat because linear perspective had not yet really been, invented, we might say. It had not really been explored in great depth at this time. During the Renaissance, you start to see the emergence of what we call linear or one-point perspective. This is a diagram of it. Most people credit Alberti, this is his perspective diagram, with fully realizing the idea of three-dimensionality in what we call a picture plane, right? So you see the terms here, picture plane, right? What does this do? It creates a vanishing point. You see it here, and you're the person looking at it, of course. And what happens is you use these things called orthogonals to create, you'll notice, lines that all converge in one place, right? So by doing this inside of an image, you are creating depth of field, right? Or basically depth. So if you go back and look at the Botticelli piece again, you'll notice that you can find your vanishing point. It's right about here with the Virgin Mary and, of course, the Christ child, because that's what the title of the work means. Adoration of the Magi is literally like the adoration of Christ as he came as king within Christian thinking, right? So you have your vanishing point here. Notice he uses like the orthogonals in the architecture, right? The beams, you can follow them, or you can just follow these diagonal lines kind of up through the people. You'll notice they create this V shape up through to here. So that creates a depth in the image that's not present, you'll notice, in the first image, which is distinctly 2D. So you're using the same artist, and notice the different parts of his career, his early part of his career. Three-dimensionality through linear perspective had not yet really been fully formalized yet. But again, later in his career, right, it had come to fruition. So you have someone like Alberti considering this and developing this as a concept.